Hi guys, welcome to the workshop. My name is Wayne O'Connor. I'm an artist from Sligo, and today I'm going to do a little art lesson for you. I'm going to tell you a little story to go with the drawing we're going to do. I do a lot of work that's based on fantasy and mythology and kind of inspired by games and science fiction movies and all this kind of stuff. Today we're going to do a little mythology story, and we're going to talk about a character from Irish mythology, Irish legend, and he's a villain. So we're going to draw this kind of villain, and his name was Balor of the Evil Eye. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about him in a second, but first I'm going to just start doing the drawing, okay? So yeah, we're going to start this drawing with just starting with a circle up here, and then we're going to put a little kind of a V shape beneath the circle. It's like a V. Then we're going to take a line and we're going to curve it and bring it down as far as here. And then a line that goes straight down, and we're going to join those up on the bottom. So then we put two little, they're going to be the feet. And then we're going to do a kind of a circle round about here, kind of in line with the bottom of the V. Now remember, this is just a guideline, so you draw this very lightly. Okay, so Balor was a cyclops. So what was unusual about Balor? Well, his eye was evil and had magical powers. And one of the things that happened was, how did he get those magical powers? Well, when Balor had been a small child on the island of the Fomorians, the race of which he was from, he had crept through the woods and he had found a bunch of druids who were kind of magicians, I guess, who were out mixing up a spell in a big cauldron. And he crept forward through the bushes and he lifted the lid and he looked into the cauldron, and the smoke seeped out and went to his eye, and he went, "Ah!" screamed as the magic filtered in there, and it gave him a strange power, a very, very nasty power, to be honest. His eye could, if he looked at someone, kill them, turn them to stone, poison them. And what he used to do with his men, with all the Fomorians, was that they said that his eye was actually so big that sometimes he would actually have men who would actually have to use ropes to lift the eye up. So it was kind of like a weapon that he would use in battles and stories and things that he got involved in. So we're going to do a little bit more of him here now. Okay, so the next part of our drawing is we're going to draw the eye, and he has one eye. He's a cyclops. So you're going to draw a circle and a kind of a black circle in the middle again. And then I like to make him look evil. I like to put kind of a shadow, like his eye is sort of sunken. So we're just going to shadow underneath. And then imagine you're doing a little tick, you know, like a correct. You got something correct in your essay or schoolwork. So that's the shape of the eyebrow, because he looks kind of angry. It's that sort of shape. It's like a tick. So, and obviously it's made of hair, so you can add in sort of hairs. And you can take a little bit out of that black circle in the middle, and it looks like a reflection of light in his eye. Okay, so now we do a line that goes up at an angle. And then we do the teeth. And the teeth are basically like upside down V's, like the letter V upside down. And you can do as many as you want and as big as you like. He's a very ugly fellow. Then bring a line from the outside of the mouth down to the bottom of your guideline, the V, the bottom of the V. And then we do an ear. We're going to do a straight line across. He's going to have a pointed ear, and then a line coming down. And then we add a line or two in the middle to be the inside of the ear. Okay, and then we'll do the top of the head, and we just follow our guidelines again. Didn't get it right, gonna do that again. Okay, and that's a bit better. Okay, and I'm putting a few little bits of hair, tiny little bits of hair. Generally you leave the details at the end, but sometimes. Okay, so now we're gonna move over to the side. I'm just going to show you what I'm going to do here. If you're doing fingers, so we're going to do the hand. The fingers are kind of like a U, like the letter U, but imagine that you've turned the U on its side. Okay? So with that in mind, we're going to go to that circle. So this is a hand. This is where his hand is. And you do a U shape, you do another U shape, another U shape, and another U shape. And then you connect the back of the hand, and you do a little shape for a thumb. So very simply, you've got kind of the idea of a hand. And basically that guideline told us where it is. So he's holding something. So I'm going to have him holding a spear. So I'm going to draw the spear now. Okay. Just like 2 straight lines. And then when you go to the bottom, make sure they kind of line up with the lines at the top. So you bring it all the way down to the bottom because it's touching the ground below. And then another one. And we just join them on the bottom. So at the time in Ireland, there was a race of people called the Tuatha De Danann, and they were great people, and some say they were magical themselves. And the Fomorians used to come into Ireland and steal from the Tuatha De Danann. They'd attack the villages and the homes and all these stuff. And then the Tuatha De Danann began to try stop them. And basically Balor got on his boat with all his men, and they came in onto the island of Ireland, and they came to a place called Maitura, and there was a huge battle between the forces of the Tuatha De Danann and the forces of the Fomorians. And you can imagine the scene. You know, you had warriors on one side, spears held aloft, going like this, ah! Warriors on the other side, the Fomorians, and they're all going, ah! And the two sides staring at each other. And next minute, they were just about to kind of begin the battle, and Balor kind of stepped forward, and all the Tuatha De Danann went, as they saw him, because remember, Balor was a giant. He was huge. And as he came forward, he said to the men who were holding the ropes, he said, "Lift my eye!" And they lifted up the eyelid, and they began pulling it up, and as it came up, all the forces of the Tuatha De Danann were like, oh, we're going to be killed, we're going to be killed. And at the back of the army of the Tuatha De Danann, there was a warrior called Lu, and Lu spotted his chance. As the eye was coming up, as the smoke was filtering out, the poison that would kill all the Tuatha De Danann was beginning to filter out. Lu grabbed the spear, and he held it up like this, and tossed it through the air, and went whistling through the air. And all the men watched. And Balor was like this. And well, I'll tell you what happened in a second. We're going to go back to the drawing. Now we add in kind of little bits of ropes, just little lines going across. And the idea is this is the rope that's connecting the wooden part of the spear to the pointy part. So, and the pointy part is just kind of a curved line, and you bring it to a point on top and then bring it back. It's almost like drawing the flame on a candle sometimes. It's that sort of shape. And then can't resist adding in a few little details. Now we bring a line out for the shoulder, and then we bring it down here, and it curves into the spear. So obviously that, you can see it now, it's coming together. It's him holding up his spear. Okay. So now we're going to do a line on this side. This is the cloak or fabric he's wearing. We bring that down. I didn't really like that, so let's do that again. So obviously I'm using digital software, so I can just hit a button and make it disappear, but you guys just use your eraser. And on the bottom, we're going to do, I like to make it look like the cloak is kind of torn and along the bottom, so I put kind of little cuts and tears, and you can be a bit rough, and bring it across. And remember, you're using your guideline to kind of know how far you go across. So you can see all the time I'm kind of using that guideline. Now remember, the guidelines are exactly that. I'm just going to draw the arm now, and that's 2 lines coming down here. But the thing with the guidelines is you don't have to stick exactly to them. So we're doing the fingers again. And again, these are like a U shape. And then we're just going to close them off with a little thing. And a curved line down here. And I'm going to have him holding something else. He is a ferocious warrior. So a little circle at the bottom, and he's basically going to be holding a sword. So we do this kind of a shape, and that's called the cross guard. And then we do kind of a straight line that comes up and curves to a point. Up and curves. And then on the other side, up and curves. We do a line up the middle. Maybe add in a little detail here as well. And adding in some little like jewels or something on the cross guard. So, where were we? Oh yes. So, Balor was there, ready to wipe out all the men of the Tuatha De Danann. The spear was flying through the air. All the men were looking at this. His Fomorian army were like, we're going to win today, lads. And suddenly the spear went, and it gets a bit gory now, guys. It hit him right in the eye. Balor went like this, fell back, and his eye actually popped out the back of his head. Lovely, cheerful image. And went flying down onto the ground and rolled down the hill. And it came to a stop. And Balor, of course, fell forward. The ground shook. All his men looked at him and went, all the Tuatha De Danann looked at the dead giant, and went, "Hey! Hey!" And the Fomorians, they looked down at their fallen leader. They looked at the army in front of them, and they went, "Go! Run! Run!" And they ran as fast as they could back over the hills. But there was something else was happening. As the two Dananan came forward and they saw the body of Balor lying there, they looked over the hill and they saw where the eye had rolled to a stop. And as they walked down, they saw that the eye was burning into the ground. Burning and burning, and suddenly it sank. And the two Dananan ran forward and looked down into the hole that had been made by the eye. Now, there's a legend to do that. We're going to get to that in a second. A bit more drawing. So we're just going to go back to this bit here. Okay, so now we're doing the armor he wears, which is kind of a chainmail. So we're doing this kind of a... Again, they're like U-shapes. The letter U is being used a lot today, but you can see the effect it can get. So chainmail is a type of armor that they would have worn, and it would have been made of all these little interlocking pieces of metal. So we're just doing these kind of... I'm going to do a cloak here now. I didn't get the line right there, so I'm going to do another line of it. And again, I'm going to make some tears in this and bring that line down to here. Things like cloaks and clothes, you don't have to be worried about the line being exactly straight. I mean, there'll be folds and stuff in it. So I'm doing a bit more armor. So I'm adding a bit more detail again to this and just more rings onto the armor. Obviously you could do the whole body like this, but I'm just going to do a little bit just to show you how much. And anyway, this guy Balor, I don't think he has the best armor. They're kind of like a tribe. I think he'd have kind of rough armor. And he's probably fought in lots of battles, so his armor wouldn't be nice and new and shiny. It'd probably be torn. And so we're just doing the feet down here, using our guidelines. We just do, and just give him kind of a, it's cartoon drawing, so we just give him kind of a flat foot. It comes sticking out. Right, the eye. So the eye had burnt into the ground, and they say that the water, the rain, had poured down and filled this hole up, and it became a lake. It became a lake that some of you guys might know. It's called Loch Nassoul, the Lake of the Eye, out towards Riverstown in Sligo. But there's a legend to do with that eye. Every 20 years or so, they say the lake drains of water. And they say that if you go over to the edge of the water on that particular day, on those particular occasions, and you gaze over, you'll see the eye looking up at you and may possibly be turned to stone. So guys, if you do see it in the hole in the ground in Loch Nassoul, be very, very careful. Consider yourself warned. Anyway, we're pretty much done here now. I'm just going to do a few final touches here. Okay, so I'm just cleaning up part of my drawing. Just get rid of the text that I showed you for an example. I'm going to be adding in more detail here. So I'm going to give him little bits of hair. Like I said, I don't think he really looks after himself or his clothes, so he's going to look a bit rough. See a few spots. You can add whatever you want at this point. I mean, you could give him earrings, you could give him scars, give him more teeth. He might be wearing a necklace of some form. But these lines are just going to make like folds in his clothes. Just doing them now. A bit more detail, a bit more shading. Okay. And I'm just adding in kind of dirt. This is kind of made to look like its clothes is torn. And it's just a series of lines, and then you do a series of lines going the exact opposite direction. And again, there's no real strict rule in this. You can put as much detail as you want. So he's going to be given kind of a bracelet that he wears. And I'm just putting kind of squiggly sort of lines to be kind of a design in the middle of it. And then these lines here that I'm doing are kind of a bit of shadow. So you can see he's getting there now. He's getting a bit more shadow of the cloak he's wearing. That his hand is coming. A few little dots here and there just to be a few more lines. It's all about the detail. This can sometimes be the most fun part of the drawing because it's kind of like, what can I add in here? What does it need? So I'm just still adding in detail. I'm adding in a bit of detail onto the staff. So the staff is made of wood. So those lines I just drew are meant to be like the aging lines you get when you cut a tree in half. So it's kind of just giving an impression that this is wood. Okay, bit more. It's just all the detailing. I could go on all day, but we're getting to the end of our drawing now. So we're going to add a little bit of where he is. Now, a thing about this guy is a giant. So I'm going to draw a tree over here. And the reason I'm putting in this tree sometimes is it helps to give the character a little bit of scale. So, as in, we've got something to compare that shows us how big he is. So you could put a little guy standing beside him if you want, or a sheep, or a cow. And then basically, because you and I know how big a sheep, a cow, or even a man is normally, when we put them beside the giant, it really gives us an idea how big he is. So bits of grass now on the ground here. And we're pretty much done. We're pretty much at the end of this guy, I think. So, I hope you enjoyed that today, guys. That's our drawing for the day. Obviously, this is a video you guys can probably rewind later and check it out if you want to go back over it. Thank you very, very much. You can check out my stuff on Wayne O'Connor Illustration on Facebook and all that. And other than that, I hope you enjoyed the rest of your day. If you have any drawings, you can feel free to send them maybe to Corage or to myself at my page, and I'd love to see them. Thank you. Have a good day. Bye bye.